Bold and Beautiful's cleric has big problems. Not only have two of his musketeers and associates decomposed suddenly in his eatery in the once week or two, but his woman is about to be hauled in for questioning. Thankfully for Thex gone, none of us believe Sheila is shamefaced this time. So, who's the real killer? Join us as we take a look at the narrowing suspect list and reveal what would be a killer twist. While Tom could have had any number of adversaries that Bold and Beautiful observers didn't know about, the unforeseen death of Hollis puts a finer point on effects. Looking at who would have reason to exclude not only star at his comeback show, but also the bartender who set up his pack after the fact, clearly narrows the focus. Unless cleric owes someone big plutocrat and they re-picking off his workers one by one as a means of intimidation, it seems egregious that the murders are tied to whatever Tom knew and the substantiation of it, which presumably Hollis set up in the pack he always kept so nearly guarded. It's safe to assume that it ever figures into Luna's maternity, given that Tom was absolutely certain that he was her natural father and indicated to letters he'd transferred to Poppy that were returned. However, whoever ended Tom to keep the secret must also have been forced to silence Hollis if Hollis set up these letters. Poppy seems an egregious choice. She had the motive and was on the scene the night that someone meddled with Tom's drink. She had also left Bill's house the night that Hollis failed. Would she have access to medicines to slip into their drinks? 2-word special mints. That said, Poppy seems nearly too egregious, and we know that's a tell. Plus, she sounded authentically shocked and sad to hear of Tom's death. Jack described her as a gentle soul, and she just isn't that cold. Unlike her family, Lee is being written as unfeeling enough to have done the deeds, and she'd have had access to the medicines. Since she and Finn feel to be the only two croakers. At the sanitarium, she also seems to have control of the necropsy reports, which would be handy if you were the killer. That said, it gets a little complex where motive is concerned. There's no egregious reason for her to want either Tom or Hollis dead. Some have suggested that Jack may be Luna's real father, but Tom coming forward as the pater kinda threw a monkey wrench into that proposition. That said, if Tom believed he was the father and was about to get a stink over it, which Lee knew would lead to the verity about Jack and Poppy being exposed, she might have decided to nip that in the cub. Hollis, learning the verity, made him contributory damage. But there's another proposition involving Lee away from Steffi, no bone. Was more worried or traumatized by Sheila's rearmost return. She could have killed Deacon's staff to frame Sheila and shoot her back to captivity. The trouble with this angle is that we have to believe Lee took 2 lives on the off chance Sheila wouldn't be suitable to come up with an justification and exculpate herself. In a visit to Finn's office, Jack told his son how important he respected Poppy and added, "There's nothing I wouldn't do for her." While that sounds suitable hint, why, it's presumably a red herring. That said, he also had a connection to Hollis, as he mentioned drinking with the bartender before Tom's show that night at Il Giardino. Thus, if he was the bone who showed up suddenly in the dark, Hollis would have known him. Jack could be in cahoots with Poppy, or working on her behalf, to keep the verity of Luna's maternity a secret, but if he's shamefaced he's a sociopath because he's incredibly chill about the whole thing. Bill could have figured out that Tom was Luna's father and decided to off the Joe, and Hollis after he set up out, but he'd be more likely to turn nasty and protest Poppy out of the house than to go to those lengths. Justin could have done the exploration, discovered the verity about Luna's maternity, and decided to take care of Bill's problem as a means of mending walls with his former master and friend, but again, Barbara's presence at Tom's show could have just been a one-off so as to round out the suspect list. What if Luna, suspicious of her mama's commerce with the Joe who delivered the pizza to Bill's house, looked up the name Tom Starr, and figured out that he was really her father? It's hard to believe the soft-spoken fashionista would kill someone, but no way say no way. She clicked with Bill, who's about to borrow her, and may have wanted to keep that new life at all costs. But, Yuri presumably allowing, Luna was musketeers with Hollis and was broken-hearted over his death. This could have been an act and slash or guilt over having to end his life, because he stumbled on the verity. One of the biggest reasons we suppose Luna may turn out to be the surprise killer? Hollis honored the person who showed up at Il Giardino that night after the power went out and saluted them as he'd have a friend, eager to bandy with them what he'd set up in Tom's backpack. However, it's that Luna and Hollis had come musketeers, if there's one thing Bold and Beautiful has been making clear in recent days. In Eric's office, Brooke supposed that Hope had wanted to return to Thomas to run down from her passions for Finn and to avoid making the same miscalculations and getting like her mama. Hope claimed she would always looked up to her mama and respected her. It's just that, Hope said. Brooke knew that she had not been a good part model in her particular life, and in her youth, she would done whatever she would wanted. She'd hurt a lot of people, her musketeers, family, and children. Brooke was sorry and claimed Hope had been in the middle of it. Brooke understood that it was why Hope had been careful in her life. As Hope exfoliated gashes, Brooke said that Hope demanded to see what was driving her desire to be with Thomas. Just let him go. Please, just support his engagement to Paris, Brooke contended. Brooke's words made sense to Hope, who could not believe she had not seen it until also. Brooke figured that Hope just demanded to be patient with herself. Hope said she did watch about Thomas. Brooke knew that it was hard, but she said Hope did not need a man. Brooke knew Hope wanted to meet the love of her life. Like you and Ridge? Hope asked. Brooke said an idealized interpretation, but she and Ridge had had their challenges. Hope reasoned that they'd always set up their way back to each other. Brooke stated that she and Ridge had realized that they did not want to live without each other. Brooke did not see that for Hope and Thomas. Brooke assured Hope that she was a catch. Hope scarfed. Brooke believed that Hope's perfect man was out there, but it wouldn't be Finn. Oh, I would no way, Mama. I am not a homewrecker, Hope cynically replied. Brooke hugged Hope. Latterly, Ridge and Brooke were kissing in Eric's office. Ridge said he would had a good talk with his son, and Brooke revealed that she would also had one with her son. Ridge asked if Hope was on board with the engagement. Brooke allowed. So. Ridge said he wanted everyone to be happy, and Brooke stated that she did, too. In the design office, Thomas arrived as Hope worked. He would arrive to talk to her about his plans and did not suppose it would take long. Hope decided that she owed him in reason. She said she had not handled it well when he would return home, agitated to start the coming chapter of his life with Paris. She was sorry and said he merited better from her. Thomas reasoned that they'd been fully in love, and Hope's torture upon his return had been accessible. Hope said it had been a struggle for her because of what his engagement meant for them and their family. She did suppose Thomas was rushing and trying to leave his history with Hope behind him. Thomas replied that that was not what it was. Hope said that he would explain it, and Hope wished him the stylish if he wanted a future with Paris. Thomas asked if Hope meant it. It sounded to hurt her to say it, but she stated that if it was meant to be, she hoped it was everlasting. Hope's words meant a lot to him. He said he was headed back to France with Paris and Douglas. He figured she would wished she would spend further time with their son. Hope was sure they'd work it out, because Douglas had a home in France that he was happy with.